Money is the most powerful fiction we've ever agreed to believe in. Whether you're tapping your phone to buy coffee or buying Bitcoin at 2 a.m. on impulse, it all traces back to that one idea. Value needs a symbol. But that symbol wasn't always coins, cash, or credit cards like nowadays. The story of money starts in a world without numbers, banks, or even language for the word wealth. Just people trying to trade what they had for what they needed. So how did we get from trading livestock to building empires? Let's rewind together. And if you're new here, welcome to Chronos History, where we break down the greatest moments in history and turn them into greater stories. Whether you're bored, learning, or somewhere in between, we've got something cooked up for you to keep you entertained. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Ironically, one of the earliest links between ancient money and modern culture is a deck of cards. European knights brought them back from the Middle East after the Crusades, and France in turn popularized the standard 54 card setup: kings, queens, jacks, and the ace. But the ace wasn't just a quirky invention. It came from the Roman as, a copper coin that used to be the lowest in the system. Funny how the weakest coin actually became the strongest card, but that's just money for you. Context is everything. From the start, it wasn't just about objects. It was about trust, power, and who got to define value. Before money, people relied on direct trade, or otherwise known as barter. You give me grain and I give you fish instead. Tools, hides, livestock, everything was fair game, as long as both parties wanted what the other had. But that was precisely the problem. Economists call it the double coincidence of wants. If no one wanted your surplus cabbage, you were out of luck. Worse, there was no standard of value. Was one goat worth 3 sacks of wheat? 5? Was it worth more or less? Nobody really knew. And you couldn't store wealth easily as well. Fish spoiled, tools broke, and livestock aged. Barter worked on a small scale, but once communities expanded, it became painfully inefficient. To fix barter's flaws, early societies began using commodity money. Items everyone agreed had value. Things like salt, grain, furs, livestock, cowrie shells, and especially metal. These weren't just useful, they were widely accepted, easy to carry, and didn't expire. Roman soldiers were literally paid in salt, hence the word salary. In parts of Africa and Asia, cowrie shells are lightweight, portable, and hard to fake. But metals were the real game changer. Durable, divisible, and inherently valuable. Bronze, silver, and gold eventually became the foundation of early financial systems. Commodity money wasn't symbolic yet, but it was the first step towards currency as abstraction. By the 7th century BCE, Lydia, which is modern-day Turkey, minted the first coins from electrum, a gold-silver alloy. Greece adopted the idea and ran with it. Athens minted silver tetradrachms stamped with an owl, instantly recognizable and trusted, far beyond its own borders. That owl wasn't just an art, it was brand recognition, and the coin became one of the ancient world's first global currencies. Later, Rome industrialized the concept. They minted bronze, silver, and gold coins. As, denarius, sestertius, and aureus, each backed by the state and strictly regulated. Coins weren't just payment, they were political tools. They paid soldiers, funded infrastructure, enabled taxation, and kept the empire running. Money became infrastructure, markets expanded, and the trade crossed continents. But when the Western Roman Empire fell in the 5th century CE, the economy fell with it. Roads crumbled, cities shrank, and coin minting ground to a halt. Barter came back hard. People clung to old Roman coins, passing them around until they were worn smooth. Some successor kingdoms, like the Franks, tried minting their own versions, mostly imitating Roman designs. The denarius, also called denier or penny, became the default coin, but there was rarely enough in circulation. Most people went back to in-kind payment. grain, livestock, and labor. Taxes were paid in chickens, not silver. Trade shrank to a local scale. Large transactions, when they did happen, were handled through land grants, favors, or feudal obligations. Currency became a luxury, once again. While Western Europe struggled through economic regression, other regions kept the concept of money alive. The Byzantine Empire maintained a reliable gold currency called the solidus and stable financial institutions. Islamic caliphates ran complex economies built on silver and gold coins. Norse and Slavic regions traded with Arabic silver dirhams or Viking silver bars, the hryvnias. Money never disappeared, it just retreated. In the West, it lost its role as a daily tool and became something distant, almost ceremonial. But in the East, it remained central to trade and diplomacy, and of course, politics. Paper money was the economic equivalent of ditching your old brick phone for a sleek, lightweight iPhone. Metal coins, yeah, they're cool, but carrying sacks of gold was a backache and a robbery risk.
I'll be taking that.
Now entered China, Song Dynasty, 11th century. They looked at coins, they said, it's time to print receipts. These started off as IOUs for deposited coins, but eventually became money in their own right. Suddenly, a slip of paper could buy you a horse, a house, or a whole vibe. Of course, paper money had zero chill when it came to actual value. Unlike gold or silver, it didn't sparkle. It depended entirely on people believing the state wasn't printing monopoly money. And surprise, governments being governments, they sometimes went full chaos mode, overprinting and tanking their own currencies. But the concept stuck. These notes weren't money per se, but receipts that screamed, I swear there's something valuable behind it. Europe, fashionably late as usual, didn't catch on until the 1600s. Banknotes showed up looking like nerdy receipts for gold deposits. But the moment people started trading those receipts instead of the actual gold or any other currency, something wild happened. Trust became currency. And with that, value started shape-shifting from shiny metals to IOUs. Paper money let trade level up, allowing banks and financial systems to start flexing hard. Suddenly, wealth wasn't about hoarding treasure like a dragon. It was about credit, movement, and vibes. The whole system shifted. Money became a promise, not an actual thing you can hold. And that's where we welcome you to debt money. The 17th to early 19th centuries were just one long beta test of how to not destroy your economy with paper. After paper money went global, everyone was feeling themselves. Until they weren't. With no strict controls, countries started printing them like there was no tomorrow. Cue inflation and economic train wrecks. France had its infamous Mississippi bubble meltdown. America printed so many continental dollars during the Revolution that they basically became coupons for disappointment. And at that point, people freaked out. Everyone wanted receipts backed by something solid, something valuable. So gold, shiny, rare, and universally hot, was crowned king. Britain was the first to say, you can cash in this paper for actual gold in 1821. The rest of Europe and the US followed. Now paper money had a sugar daddy, the gold vault. Now, the gold standard made currencies trustworthy, trade global, and inflation mostly okay. But tying your entire economy to how much gold you can hoard? Kind of restrictive. But still, it was a better solution. Now you could travel the world and exchange paper for shiny metal, like a ball. Fast forward to the 19th and early 20th centuries. The world was industrializing. Banking was booming and everyone was sipping that globalization juice. Gold-backed money kept things steady while tech, trains, telegraphs, steamships made the world smaller. Banks evolved into credit engines, central banks took the wheel, and international trade boomed. But then the vibes went dark. World War I came in hot and said, forget gold, now start printing money. Governments needed cash for war and couldn't afford to stay loyal to their golden boo. Inflation spiked. Post-war, countries tried to patch things up and return to gold, but like trying to get back with your ex, it just didn't work. The 1930s Great Depression body-slammed the global economy. Deflation, unemployment, and banking collapses made it clear. Gold wasn't actually the stable bay everyone thought it was. Cue the breakup, and countries ditched gold to adopt more flexible money systems. The old school gold standard simply just couldn't keep up with a messy, modern industrialized world. World War II was a hot mess economically, so in 1944, the world pulled up to Bretton Woods like, we need rules. The squad, 44 countries deep, decided the US dollar would be the main character, pegged to gold at $35 an ounce, and all other currencies would peg to the dollar. And boom, just like that, the dollar became the world's financial influencer. But by the 60s and 70s, America was spending like crazy. Vietnam War, social programs, the whole deal. Too many dollars were floating around and people started asking questions. Was there enough gold left to back it up? Nixon looked at the camera in 1971 and said, "We're done here," and shut the gold window. Bretton Woods died quietly in its sleep that day. Now we're in the fiat era, money backed by vibes and government promises. Central banks run the show, printing money, setting interest rates, and trying to keep economies from going full send into disaster. Most money exists digitally, like your bank account. That's just numbers in a spreadsheet. Welcome to the Matrix. Today we have digital currencies, crypto chaos, central banks experimenting with their own digital coins, and an economy that runs on trust, speed, and a whole lot of spreadsheets. Money is not gold, it's not paper, it's not any other valuable metal. It's information, a promise, kind of a meme that became real. And that's all for today, guys. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment if you could come up with a more stable trading currency or a system. Let us know. And until next time, see you again on Chronos History.